Every yard, every hit, every second. It's earned out here. This game demands more than just skill. It demands fuel. The right fuel. Because out here, it's not just about how hard you work. It's about how long you keep going. When the game gets real, drink bottle still.
Connor, we are down to two teams, and what a weekend it was here in the OUA. We had a massive comeback that almost was from the Guelph Gryphons, which we will talk to in a second, and eventually we will get to the Queen's Gaels going down to the end of the 401 and handling their business against the Windsor Lancers. Connor, Laurier, obviously with the big hold off on the Guelph Gryphons' insane second half comeback. What are your initial thoughts when looking at this one?
Wade, we're going to give Laurier their flowers here, and they will be deserved. But I want to start here with the Guelph Gryphons because is Marshall McCray not the most electric player, most exciting player in the OUA right now? Right now, look at what he's done all season. Fantastic player, fantastic athlete, has been all over the field for Guelph. And then he comes out and he does this against the Laurier Golden Hawks. And yes, they got blanked in the first half, but Marshall McCray comes out and puts down 272 yards through the air, adds 3 passing touchdowns to this, has 108 on the ground of his own with 1 rushing touchdown. What a performance from Marshall McCray. And really, he was the reason that they were able to almost come back in this game.
Connor, in this one, when we see Laurier kind of go into that early lead and McCray's coming in, it feels like Guelph just has to say, do you? And as much as you want to play within system and you want to, play on time and on rhythm, all those things we've talked about with Abood and this offense, committing to the run game and staying on schedule and not holding the ball too long when you're dropping back. Um, when Marshall McCray comes in the game, it is do you be a playmaker. And that's why they had all those short yardage packages and the wildcat packages that they've used intermittently throughout the year. But when it came down to it and being in the deficit they were in, going down 27 to 8 or 27 nothing at halftime, it just feels like all hell breaks loose when Marshall McCray starts running around. And Guelph certainly made a push. I mean, they got everybody involved from the true freshman receiver from Pickering, Ethan Garway, all the way to, Marshall McCray running it himself. Harry Vardy had a couple touchdowns as well, but they really started to turn it on and they really started to, make Laurier sweat. And I think when you're up 27 nothing, that's the hardest thing in football, right? You have completely dominated for a half, yet you have another 30 minutes to go and still play. And really good teams oftentimes struggle with this. The very rare teams are the ones that just cruise through and continue to rake in points. And Laurier kind of stalled out almost. If they were driving well, but it just never felt like they were as dominant in that second half. And with McCray just putting so much pressure on, it's tough to kind of hold on for dear life.
And hats off to the Guelph defense in this one for the second half because they really came out and did what they needed to do. Obviously, it was a 20-point first half. They hold Laurier to just 10 points in the second half in this one. In the third quarter is really where I thought Guelph's defense shined in this one and gave them an opportunity to get back in this ball game because they were getting the stops that they needed, which allowed Guelph to kind of make it a 27-16 game. But from there, Wade, Laurier kind of woke back up at the end of the third quarter. It's the 17-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Hughes. Then Dawson Hodge early in the fourth quarter knocks through a field goal, 29-yard field goal to make it 37-16. And at that point, it's really where it felt like Laurier continued to take over the game.
Yeah, and the big time playmakers made the big time plays that they're expected to, and namely Ryan Hughes. We saw this last year in the playoffs where he kind of emerged as this, oh my God, he is not just the third or fourth or fifth option on this team. He is an ascending superstar who, is a game-changing talent. And this year, Raiden Thorne not being there, Ethan Jordan not having a catch in the game for the Laurier Golden Hawks. Ryan Hughes had to step up, and that was the thing that he has done every single playoff game he's been a part of. I fully expect it to continue, and the 2 touchdowns, 161 yards receiving is just a flash in the pan to what we saw last year in the past, right? Like it's just a reminder that, oh my God, he is that talented. And yeah, he's played beside, one of the rare two separate seasons having 1,000 yards receivers in Ethan Jordan. But Ryan Hughes is a top end receiver in youth sports. And looking ahead to this next week, Queen's going to have their hands full with him because he is a long body type that is very tough to match. You got to have a certain amount of size and speed to run with Hughes, and Laurier's as creative as anyone else in the country, getting different guys involved with different ways, whether it's screens, quick game, down the field shots, or just simple like spacing concepts to pick apart zones.
And Wade, just to add on to that, just before we move on here off this game, I want to talk about the poise that Cal Wither showed throughout this because we haven't talked about him yet in this game, and he had a darn ball game. 370 yards through the air in this one, 2 touchdowns, 24 of 33. And he just looks so comfortable, confident, poised, all of the words that you want to use and hear about your starting quarterback. And when the game started getting tight, didn't flinch, didn't budge, just stayed in there and did the things that he absolutely needed to do. And he has been a fantastic quarterback to watch, not only in this game, but to develop. The way that he has just come in and commanded this Laurier offense throughout the season has been really impressive to watch.
It has been, it's a credit to his talent. It's a credit to this coaching staff as well, in getting Cal Wither up to speed in a short amount of time and readjusting him to Canadian football and all the different intricacies that there is coming up from the United States. But Connor, Cal Wither has done this every single game. High completion percentage, a lot of yardage, some touchdowns when it matters, and just a leadership role that, it was a big void that Taylor Algersma was leaving behind in this Golden Hawks roster. And while Cal Withers certainly hasn't filled every single second of that role, because let's face it, that was Taylor's team for 4 years, and coming in as a transfer, it's very tough to assume. But certainly on offense, Connor, everybody has the respect of Cal Wither, and they are riding with that, and they fully believe that he is the most talented quarterback. We'll see later this week when we get to the awards, whether he is labeled as such. But for Cal Wither, this has been an outstanding season coming back north of the border. And if I'm the Laurier Golden Hawks, I'm thinking, man, we were close last year. I think we can be as close this year, but they have a tough task, and that is a team wearing tricolor that's going to be standing in their way.
Definitely. So let's talk about this Queens Windsor matchup. And it took Queens until later in this game to come away with it, but they did sneak out a 34-21 win over the Windsor Lancers. But Wade, it came down to the third quarter for Queens, and that's where I think they really won this ball game.
Yeah, Connor. And for me, it was the patience in the run game. And Coach Nesbitt and Speller and the rest of the offensive staff have been so determined that they're going to maintain their identity as a power running football team, but they're going to take advantage of having one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Alex Freakin. And at points this year, they've tried really hard to just throw the ball and be a speed offense. I mean, they showed a lot of tempo last week against McMaster, but mixed in with that tempo was a very dominant run game. And when they played Windsor 2 weeks ago, it felt like there was kind of an adjustment level of playing a team with as much strength and size as the Windsor Lancers. But for the Queens Gaels, they stayed true to their identity. They did not panic. They did not flinch. And Alex Freakin and Jared Cesare started to just slowly break away at Windsor, and you started to see the 60-yard run, the 20-yard carry late in the game, and Cesare just slowly ate away, and all of a sudden the 3-yard runs turned into 8-yard runs, which turned into double-digit yard runs and a breakaway touchdown for Cesare and Co.
And on the defensive side of the ball here for Queens, Wade, I mean, we talk about this Queens defense often on the OUA show here, and deservedly so. But really, I'm going to be super biased, but it's also going to come off as very unbiased if you watch this game. The DBs, Wade, oh my gosh, that unit is so impressive to watch. 2 interceptions in this one. And what they did to the Windsor passing attack, the way that they took it away. I mean, if you look at the collective efforts of their quarterbacks in this one, Domovsky, 7 of 16, just 62 yards. And they held them to 106 passing yards. How often do you hear of a team being held to 106 passing yards in a playoff game. That is ridiculously impressive to me. And yes, I'm talking about the DBs here, and it does sound biased coming from former DBs. So I got to give props to the front end, or I guess the front seven of this Queens defense, who was making noise all game long and really allowed those DBs to go play loose and fast back there.
Yeah, and the physicality that Queens brought to the table, I think, was something that comes with the idea and the swagger that Justin Pace brings to this Gales defense, Connor. A couple weeks ago, you saw what Windsor run at will, and it just felt like they were clipping off big run after big run. And outside of Andrew Delaney's big 50-yarder, which when he first broke it, I was like, oh, he's gone. And no, they rallied, got him down, and lived to fight another day. But this defense that wants to punch you in the mouth and play physical and really do so with a lot of young, unproven guys that are carrying the swagger of, the group that has been where, yeah, we are the best in the country, but these guys just haven't been there long enough to have those same titles and awards. Uh, they were uber physical. They locked up a lot. I mean, Wavy Mambo was not running at full steam. Domofsky was kind of limping around, so Fuli had to come in for a bit. And really, outside of Kareem Cotton having like every single kind of impact on this offensive game, and it felt like, Queens had the right stuff dialed up. They were tuned in, they read the right keys, and playing 2 weeks ago might have been, lose the battle but win the war because you saw exactly what Windsor wanted to do and how they were going to try to attack you. And you know, I think all the credit in the world has to go to this Queens defense, Connor, because they stepped up to the mark, and it was the veteran guys. It was, Pace and Miller Melanson and Vanek, and of course Cadden had a nice ranging pick, and Jacob Baldwin, 11 solo tackles. Like that's insane. But when you play that zone slice as a defense, there's going to be a lot of backside tackles if everyone does their job. You just kind of have to hit cleanup essentially if we're going to keep the baseball references going. And Jacob Baldwin does exactly that.
He certainly did, Wade. Absolutely. The one thing, though, that I want to talk about here quickly before we wrap it up, and the one thing that I was quietly tracking moving into this game is Windsor came into this game as the fourth most penalized team in the OUA throughout the regular season. And I was wondering if this might kind of sneak up on them here. And I think it did. 9 penalties in this game for 65 yards. 9 penalties in this game for 65 yards. And in a playoff game, I think that you need to be more buttoned up than that. You need to have a little bit more discipline. And some of these penalties, Windsor was really shooting themselves in the foot a little bit with this one.
Windsor has certainly been killed this year on penalties. It made a big difference here. But there is some special teams penalties. There's a whole plethora of things that kind of compounded for the Lancers.
Well, the stage is set November 8th at night, Newborough Field, University Stadium. The Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks will be hosting the Queens Gaels for the Yates Cup, but we will get to that later this week. We're going to be doing a full breakdown of each team, offense and defense for Queens, offense and defense for Laurier. 2 separate videos. You're going to be able to check those out right here on the OUA show. It's going to be myself and Wade. Please tune into that. We are super excited for this year's Yates Cup. But I think, Wade, unless you got anything else to add, we can end this one off before we get too excited and start talking about the preview before we actually get there.
Yeah, make sure you guys check it out, OUA.tv. If you missed any of the games, go back and check it out. Enjoy the Yates Cup. Like Connor said, we will be here all week long with 3 different previews, so make sure to check those out as they come in. But enjoy the week that is to come, and I hope you guys enjoyed the week that was.